Hi, Debbie.
Hey, Aruna, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Pretty good, thank you. Except for some seasonal allergies.
Oh, and that's going to get worse, I guess.
I think so too. Anything exciting going on in your part of the city?
Nothing really. We're long overdue for an annual meeting and for elections. We didn't have any last year and we didn't have any the year before. So I'm hoping we'll have them soon for the Civic Association.
Oh, okay. Hey, Kay,
Hi,
how you doing?
I'm here.
Me too.
Are you gonna make me a co-host so I can check people in?
Oh, yes, I definitely will.
And are we deferring Club Platinum?
I think we need to.
Yeah.
Next month is different, but it's their request. They've got 60, they can defer twice before the NPU really has a say.
Okay. So maybe, well, I guess we might still have some things that we need to actually count votes for. So I'll go ahead and do the Vs.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know how many people will have actually stay in the meeting,
Yeah, as soon as they hear that.
and I'll announce it at the very beginning for those folks that want to bail.
Pretty disrespectful to wait and give us only 2 hours notice.
Oh, yeah. They knew what they were doing.
Yep.
That was great news that you had about Dory.
It was astounding news. We were so shocked. I mean, it's just amazing to think that changing to a different chemo protocol could basically put her in remission in just 2 weeks.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, let's just hope it stays. She's going to have to be on this for 6 more, not 6 more months, 3 more months, 4 more months.
Excuse me, Kay. This is Cindy Phelan.
Hi.
I haven't joined before. I wanted to after I saw the email about the alcohol license vote. So I apologize. I'm in the middle of cooking dinner also. I just wanted to know if with a V in front of my name, does that mean I am able to vote? Because I know I had sent in my address. Okay, just wanted to understand.
Yep, that's what the V's for.
Okay, sorry if I missed that.
No problem.
Thanks.
Hello, Alex.
Good evening, everybody.
Oh, hey, Alex. Your council meeting over already?
We actually ended early today, about 3:45.
Wow.
I raced home because I looks like I caught a swarm of bees in my swarm trap here in my yard. So
Woo-hoo.
no, fingers crossed. 50-50 right now. They may or may not like their new digs, and who knows.
Well, it's better than having to climb a tree somewhere and get them from somebody's
Very
yard.
true. Very true.
Hi, this is Debbie Murray. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Last time I came on to NPU meeting and I was voting, I wasn't able to vote even though I registered and I live in the Morningside, Lenox Park area. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
And when you say you weren't able to vote, were you not able to raise your hand? Because that's how we were voting last month.
Oh, okay, because the person before me just said there should be a V in front of your name and there isn't, even though I've registered several times.
Okay, last month, I don't think we were putting Vs in front of the names because we didn't have any real contentious issues.
Okay, how about today?
So I'm putting the V's in as fast as I can go.
Okay, okay.
I don't see that you sent me verification of where you live. I see that you registered. But you need to send me either through email or text message a copy of some document that shows that you actually live on Bismarck Road.
Okay, I guess I did not get that communicated. I'll go do that. I'm sure, I know you're very busy. I don't know what will work for today. I don't even know if we're voting today, but I'll go send you a copy of my license.
That'd be great.
Sorry.
I'll delete it as soon as I look at it.
Okay, well, it's fine. It's an okay picture. Okay, I'm gonna mute you again so you don't hear me going upstairs.
Thank you.
Bye. Who am I sending it to?
You can send it to this email address, KAY.STEPHENSON, that's k.stevenson@gmail.com.
Okay, so it's last name is STEVENSON.
STEPHENSON.
Okay, well, I don't want to. K.STEPH.
ENSON.
Okay, at.
Gmail,
I
GMAIL.com.
got that. Yeah, I don't want to distract you from what you need to do, so I'll go right and do this quickly. I am going to mute you again. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Is there anyone from APD that's on the call?
Captain Malecki is here.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
So is Captain Smith.
Oh,
It's
great.
okay.
Thank you. I totally missed you guys. Oh, you're not using your titles. No wonder. There's still a lot of people that are joining, so I'll give it another minute or so until it slows down. Doug, you have your hand raised? Hey, Doug.
Maybe he has a question.
Well, I know.
No, Debbie, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I just wanted to make sure that you knew I was calling in via a phone link tonight. So I
Oh.
don't know how I'm showing up. The last four digits are 8392 for my number that I'm calling from.
8392. Okay, your name is actually showing up on the list. 8392. I don't.
Well, that's fine too.
I don't see a phone number for you. I just see your name.
Okay, well then that's even better.
Well, it is. Okay, if everyone's ready, I can get started. Aruna, are you good?
Good here, thanks.
Okay. And Kay, can you catch the folks as they're coming into the?
Yep.
Okie dokie. Then I will call the meeting to order. This is NPU F, and today is March 21st, 2020. Welcome to our meeting, especially those that are new to the NPU. I'm Debbie Skopczynski, and I'm chair of the NPU. And with me tonight is Kay Stevenson, who is vice chair and also our public safety chair. She is co-hosting the meeting with me. Jane Rawlings, who is our alcohol permits chair. Doug Young, who is the planner that's been assigned to NPU F, and Aruna Narasimhan, who is taking minutes. We have two agendas, the one with the map and a consent agenda, which includes applications which historically this NPU has approved with little or no discussion. The version with the map is the complete NPU agenda. It has all applications. If you are here because of an application, you can check that agenda to make sure that you are on it. A quick orientation for first time or infrequent Zoom users. When you entered the room, your audio was muted. Please stay muted throughout the meeting so that background noise does not interrupt the flow of the meeting. You can unmute on your screen, or if you're on a phone, use *6 to mute or unmute if you are listening on a phone. Zoom publishes a participant list which lists everyone who is attending this meeting. Your name will be at the top of the list. If there is more than one person using the same device, please include both names on the participant list. To make a change, just click on more to the right of your name and you'll find an option to rename. Your name may have a V before your name. Please do not change that. V indicates verified members. If you've been verified as a resident and don't see a V, hang tight. This is a manual process. And Kay is working her way down the list. It may take a little while. For most items, we'll be using the honor system to vote. I ask you to please resist the urge to vote if you don't live in the NPU. In the event we do need a hand count, we will be using the raise your hand icon. You'll find this button behind the reactions tab, which for most folks will be at the bottom of the screen. Residents of NPUF may vote on any issue they have, unless they have a financial interest in the application or motion. For example, property or business owners may not vote on their own variances, but can vote on others. If you're not an NPU resident, but a business owner or property owner, you may vote if you've met the requirements as described in our bylaws. We do have a chat room for you to share comments to an individual or everyone in the meeting. For most of you, it will also be at the bottom of the screen next to the participants icon. Copies of the agenda, the consent agenda, the minutes for February will be uploaded in just a few minutes. The chat room will be monitored for comments and questions, but we will only be answering questions if they are relevant to the topic being discussed. At NPUF, our meetings follow a town hall format. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand function, or if you are on your phone, hit *9. You'll be called on to speak in order that the hands go up. Please be sure to stay muted until you are invited to speak, and then identify yourself so folks will know who is speaking. Please don't wave your hand on the screen unless you're just being friendly, because there are too many people in the room for me to see it. And please do not speak unless you're called on. Others may be in the queue waiting their turn to speak. Please keep all questions and comments germane to the topic being addressed and respectful of everyone in the meeting. To allow all an opportunity to speak, I'm going to ask that you only speak once on a topic unless you are asked for clarification or a question on previous remarks. So that we can all hear and we can get a good recording for the archives, it's important that only one person speaks at a time. If you interrupt, you will be muted. Finally, we are here tonight because city ordinances provide residents of Atlanta through the NPU system the opportunity to provide recommendations and comments on applications and legislative changes that impact our quality of life. It's our responsibility to tell them what we think, and when appropriate, to share the strength of that opinion through hand counts. All votes taken at the NPU are only recommendations. Final decisions are made by city boards, city administrators, or city council. And I hope that you will take advantage of expressing your opinion there as well, either in writing, by phone, or by leaving a comment during public hearing opportunities. Before we get started, there are two changes to the agenda that I wanted to share with you. One, the first is that I received notice late this afternoon that the Persian Community Festival has withdrawn their application, so a vote will not be required. And the second is that Club Platinum sent us an email at 4:52 today, that's 2 hours before our meeting, and asked to be deferred for an additional month. So if you're here for either one of those agenda items, feel free to stay with us for the rest of the meeting if you'd like, or you can head out. Are there any other changes to the agenda? Does anyone want to make any other changes to the agenda? I'm not seeing any hands raised or hearing any voices. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Kay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, thanks, Rich. Okay, all those in favor of adopting the agenda, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands. And this is really more to make sure that everybody knows where the raise hand function is. At the bottom of your screen, you should see an icon called reactions. If you click on that, you'll see raise hands at the bottom of the screen. So if you could just do a quick raise hand function so everybody knows where to find it. Okay. All righty. Let's see. Okay, the clear all feedback is actually working for me today. So,
Yay.
yeah, great. All right, first order of business is the approval of the minutes for the February meeting. Thank you to Aruna for taking the minutes last month. They looked fabulous. The minutes were posted on the NPU F website, and a link was sent to those on the NPU mailing list and to verified members. And that mailing list is about 800 people. And I do know that some folks actually read them because I heard some comments about them. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Gina, did you have a correction or an addition to the minutes? Gina Vanderkloot? Or is your hand just raised from the previous vote? Gina, you'll have to unmute yourself. Okay.
Yes, I just need to take that off. So,
Okay, that's okay.
sorry.
Nope, no problems. Alrighty. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Rich. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, that sounded like Jane. Okay, are there any objections to approving the minutes? We'll just do this by a consent. Are there any objections to approving the minutes? If so, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. The minutes from February are approved. I have a couple announcements. The first, on the consent agenda, there are some calendar dates for meetings that will be held this week, actually tomorrow, that are on the consent agenda. You'll see those in just a moment as soon as I can get those on the chat. The first public meeting to discuss revisions to the Beltline Subarea 6 master plan is tomorrow night at 6:30. It is a Zoom meeting, so I think the link there to join the meeting or to register for the meeting is on the consent agenda. If you have concerns or input to future development along our section of the Beltline, please participate in this and in future meetings. And the other announcement is that the Department of Public Works is doing some surveys of residents and businesses on rate changes to the solid waste fees. They are paying residents $100 to participate in an hour-and-a-half meeting and have 3 slots that are still open for, I believe it's March 23rd. And I think they're still looking for some business owners for a half-hour interview. If you're interested, drop a note in the chat and I'll send you the number to call so that you could register for those meetings. Okay, reports from city departmental representatives. I can't remember which zone we started off with last time. So let's start with the Captain Smith from Zone 2.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. I put my email address up in the chat, so please feel free to reach out if you have any questions or concerns that you'd like to reach out to me about. Please do. A few things on the Zone 2 side. We're looking very good so far this year. We're very happy with where crime's at and the results that we've been seeing, specifically to 212's beat, which encompasses NPU F. We're a few things. We have a lot of resources in that area. We have, with the Cheshire Bridge corridor, the Piedmont corridor, a few of the things that we've done with all the construction there that's just wreaking havoc on Piedmont. We've restricted the unit that works that beat so that unit is not to leave that area, just to make sure that we have an officer there at all times. Captain Malecki is on the line. Him and I coordinate weekly to make sure that we have that our units are working together, because we kind of butt up against each other there. So we make sure that we're working together. There's the hit team, which is the high intensity tactical traffic, has been working that corridor. They specialize in DUIs and heavy traffic enforcement. So they're work overnight. So they've been in that space. and along with our crime suppression teams. And I wanted to highlight a few cases. I think sometimes a lot of this stuff kind of gets lost, and there's a lot of, they just sometimes don't get the attention they deserve. So I just wanted to highlight a few really quickly. And it's not exactly on Beat 212, but just outside of Beat 212, there was a lot of press coverage on the Home Depot robbery, where we had a gentleman who put a knife on a woman and wanted her to drive him to the bus station. So we were in that area immediately. It's where our bike units are. We have a lot of resources that were there. We canvassed it right away. There were some things that happened during the robbery attempt that led us to believe the gentleman was transient and possibly homeless. I want to give a real special kudos to our robbery investigations unit. The investigator Pender spent hours going through MARTA footage, lining up the clothing with the gentleman, and pulled a lot of video from MARTA, which was very helpful. And he happened to see this gentleman, the robbery investigator, saw this gentleman outside of public safety headquarters in the same clothing that he had worn on the day of the robbery. It was an excellent job by Investigator Pender. So he went down, questioned the gentleman through his interview and interrogation. The gentleman ended up admitting that he was at MARTA that day and saw a picture, admitted that it was him in the picture, and then of course denied the robbery. But the investigator was able to take out warrants on that gentleman. That gentleman was arrested, and he has quite an extensive history of criminal behavior, including 45 arrest cycles in the state of Georgia and New York. He was a convicted felon. He was first arrested by the Atlanta Police Department back in 1974. So you can see this stretch kind of goes through decades, and it was really excellent work by the robbery team, and I wanted to give them credit. And I know that case received a lot of attention, so I just wanted to cover that and make sure we knew that he was in fact arrested. Another great case that we're very proud of is on Beat 212, which again we covered is in your neighborhood. The GBI had contacted us, and they were tracking a male from South Carolina. And our crime suppression unit was Johnny on the spot in the area, Monroe Drive and Park Drive. They were able to get eyes on the vehicle that was wanted, and they were able to do a traffic stop. And indeed, it was the gentleman and a female. The gentleman was wanted for a homicide out of South Carolina. In the vehicle, we had 235 grams of marijuana, 4 oxycodone pills, and a stolen Glock 45 with an extended magazine with live rounds, and 20 rifle rounds. And that was what our crime suppression team was able to get to just after being within minutes of being contacted by the GBI and some other stuff. It was fantastic work on their part, and we're really proud of the effort that those guys had on that one. And I want to touch on one other case, just because Beat 212 is notoriously, especially along that Cheshire Bridge corridor in Piedmont, there's a lot of apartment complexes, there's a lot of parking decks, there's a lot of parking garages. So constantly in Zone 2, we're fighting the battle of property crime. And entering autos and stolen vehicles, those things happen. And one of our officers, our crime suppression officers, again, they were operating in that 212 area, and at Cheshire or at Monroe Drive in 85, our officer noticed somebody with a heavy tint on the window. It was an illegal tint, and he pulled the vehicle over on a traffic stop. The gentleman lied about his name. We're able to get a fingerprint reader out there, fingerprinted him, and he was wanted for identity theft, entering auto, and obstruction. He had warrants up for his arrest. So a simple traffic stop for an officer paying attention, doing what he's supposed to do in the area he's supposed to be, and we combat that property stuff a lot. So whether or not that suspect was doing those property crimes at that time, we don't know. We didn't have any evidence of it, but he's certainly done that in his past. And he had quite the extensive criminal history also. So those are a few highlights. Again, we're always combating the property stuff, and we like to stress in these meetings, please do not leave your car running. I think at last count, we were around 50% of vehicles.
What happened?
You muted yourself.
Jason, you just accidentally got muted.
I'm sorry.
There you go,
Good to
my
go now?
fault. You're good now.
Okay, perfect. I think I probably, I think I said about 50% of the vehicles so far this year to date have been stolen with keys in the vehicle or they were left running. So please don't do that. Please tell your neighbors. And then of course, we're still talking about connectatlanta.org, which is our FUSIS, our real-time fighting center, real-time crime fighting center. Sorry, it's a tongue twister. And so connectatlanta.org, you can go there and register your camera. If you have a Ring camera or any other camera, you can register it. We don't have access to it. We can't watch it. All we can do is send alerts to you if we're looking for a video. It just tells us that you have a camera and you're willing to share the footage with us. So again, we can't look into your camera, we can't watch your camera, that kind of stuff. We're just looking for people to register, kind of make it easier on the detectives and make it easier on the investigation if we have something. I know that was a lot. I'm sorry, I talk a lot, got going. Please, if there's any questions, I would love to answer whatever you have.
Are there any questions for Captain Smith? If so, please raise your hand. Todd Weber?
Yeah, so thank you for that presentation. That was really informative. I'm not sure this is a question or just a concern, but I think I saw somewhere in the news about, chasing down these, road racers and such that have been popping up around Atlanta. And
Yes.
as concerned as I am with them, I'm also concerned about high-speed chases and the unwanted accidents that can ensue. So I guess it's not a question, but I would just say from my point of view, I'd rather see some of these folks get away than additional or having someone injured themselves or others. Over.
Absolutely. So I'll talk a little bit about kind of street racers and what we do and kind of APD's response, and I'll hit on our chase policy, which I'm very familiar with. I was on the auto crimes enforcement team for a long time. So the street racers, we work with a task force. We work with all the surrounding metropolitan areas. It is a problem that is not specific to the city of Atlanta. It is actually nationwide, and they meet up a lot in Alpharetta, in Cobb, in Gwinnett. So it hits all the surrounding areas. And yes, you hit the nail on the head. Those street racers do not fit the criteria for APD to chase. Okay, so we cannot chase. We do a lot on the back end investigatively and trying to hunt them down that way. And I don't want to give away specifics because that's how we're kind of winning against them. And Georgia State Patrol is allowed to chase. So when we work with Georgia State Patrol, if they pursue, that's their policy. That's not Atlanta police policy. So we do not chase for that. Our police policy is very specific in the instances that we are allowed to chase and when we're not allowed to chase. And so we abide by that policy. And yes, because when high-speed accidents happen, things tend to go pretty poorly. So we're very cognizant of that. And it's one of those things that we're constantly reviewing and constantly making sure that we're where we need to be in that space.
Thank you. That's very reassuring. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Rebecca, I saw your hand up briefly. Do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, yes, I do. So you were talking about cameras. So recently our cars were vandalized. Someone threw paint stripper on all of our vehicles. You guys may have seen it on the news. I've been asking some officers about reviewing the video footage from the cameras in the neighborhood, and it seems to be like not really a normal process for them. So we did get someone to finally review the one camera on our street, but there's other cameras I know in the area. So is there a way that I can go about either getting that footage to review or get someone to review the footage?
Absolutely. Was your vehicle one of the vehicles damaged?
Yeah, 3 of my vehicles were damaged.
3 of your vehicles. Has a detective been in contact with you?
Yes, there was a detective, but she just said there was no footage on our one street camera, and that was it.
And you have other footage that you'd like the detective to take a look at?
Well, we have footage of the vehicle that the man was driving that did this. So that we were just hoping to find a license plate, possibly, or some other footage of this car, to identify this person.
Yes, yes. We can. I would recommend, if you can't get a hold of your investigator, my email address is in the chat. Please email me, and
Okay.
and we can speak offline, and we'll make sure we get somebody to take care of that for you. Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Captain Malecki?
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Also, I put my contact information in the chat as well. So if anybody has any follow-up after this meeting for Zone 6 issues, feel free to shoot me an email and we'll do the best we can to get you squared away. Jason kind of covered a lot of the stuff I was going to talk about. He and I, as he mentioned, we talk daily. We had both of our crime suppression units do a little joint detail in the Zone 6, Zone 2 border. I know we've had some gunfire up there and of course some property crimes. So that's something we look at almost every day. And, we'll continue to put the resources we can up in that area. For Zone 6, we're about break even at week 11. The most recent crime stats that are on the department's website, we're about break even for the year. The one area that we are up on, unfortunately, is our homicide. We're at 9 for the year. Last year at this time we had 4. Am I getting some feedback?
Yeah, and it sounds like it.
I think somebody's not muted that should be muted.
Yeah, I think I caught it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the one area, unfortunately, that we are up in Zone 6 is the homicides. If there is a shining light to that, it's that our homicide unit has done very fast and phenomenal work. You guys may have seen recently in the news, we did make a second arrest on the Beltline homicide. They did a really good job clearing that one up. So 2 of those individuals are in custody right now. There is a third person of interest who was with those 2 at the time of that crime. So our guys are still working around the clock to get that third individual identified and determine what level of involvement that he may have had in that homicide. We did have one Tuesday. It wasn't in this NPU, but it was over at 400 Edgewood. So obviously it's a big deal anytime we get a homicide. It really affects the whole zone. To give you a little overview of that, that was actually a physical fight. The decedent in that case actually started a fight and attempted to rob an individual. Once that situation was diffused and actually over with, the initial victim of the assault produced a handgun and did fatally shoot the victim in that. Again, our homicide unit has that guy identified already, and we do have arrest warrants out for him. So our fugitive unit is working around the clock to get that individual in custody. A couple good cases we did have that I'll highlight. You guys may have seen, I'm sure in Zone 6, we had the individual drilling holes in gas tanks throughout all of Zone 6, stealing fuel, but more importantly, causing thousands of dollars of damage to gas tanks. We were actually able to get some video from a community member of that suspect's vehicle. We're able to track down that tag, and we were notified when it came back into Zone 6. So Major Reese and I had set up a little detail unit. They were able to locate that guy, get him in custody. He's still currently in DeKalb County Jail, and he's got 25 previous arrests out of Washington. So he's kind of a recently new transplant to Atlanta, but he is still in custody. We believe he's responsible for about 7 of those crimes. So our detectives are still working to try to make additional charges and hold him accountable for each and every one of those incidents that took place. That's pretty much what I have for the up. Again, property crimes are still an issue in Zone 6. As Jason mentioned, vehicle thefts, keys left in vehicles continues to be a problem. I think he said it accounts for about 50% of our vehicle thefts throughout the city, and that certainly holds true within Zone 6. So if you have to leave your car for any reason, please do not leave it running. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you guys might have for Zone 6.
Any questions for the captain, Zone 6? Please raise your hand. Oh, I don't see any.
Getting off easy tonight.
Well, hey, my email's in there. If you guys think of anything after, shoot me an email and I'll get right back to you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks. Before we move on to the next city departmental rep, I want to mention 2 things about protocol at NPU meetings. The first is the chat room is not social media. So I'm going to ask you to keep your comments clean and respectful, just like the comments in the room. If I'm just not going to tolerate having anything disrespectful in that room. And if it becomes a problem, I will turn the chat off. The other thing is remember to mute yourself after you finish speaking. We love to have people speak at our meetings and encourage it, but just one person at a time, and please keep yourself muted so that everyone can hear. Okay, is there anyone here from Atlanta Fire Department? I didn't see anyone. APD Code Enforcement, Officer Putman, are you APD? Atlanta 311.
Hi, yes, I'm here. Hi.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Constance Harris. I'm the Executive Assistant for ATL 311 at the Department of Customer Service under the leadership of Commissioner Maisha Good. ATL 311 is the non-emergency call center for the City of Atlanta services. 311 is the number you dial to report things like potholes, water main breaks, questions about your water bill and solid waste services, code violations, traffic light and sign maintenance, general information, and much more. We are open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can reach us by dialing 311 inside the incorporated city limits. Otherwise, our full number is 404-546-0311. At any time, you can email us, download our mobile app, report issues through our website, or message us on social media. All our contact information has been placed in the chat. ATL 311 is also partnering with the PAD initiative to provide community referral services for quality of life concerns related to unmet mental health needs, substance use, or extreme poverty. When a community member makes a referral, the PAD team will travel to that area and attempt to engage the referred individual and connect them to the services. Thank you for allowing us to present on tonight. And does anyone have any questions or unresolved service requests that I can have escalated for you?
I don't see any hands raised, Constance. I think we're good. Thanks for the information.
Okay, I'll see you next time. Y'all have a great one.
And ma'am, real quick, I just wanted to hop in. Looks like Officer Parham lost power in the chat, but you can go ahead and text or email if you have any questions for code enforcement.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, sorry about that. Thanks again, everybody.
Great. Oh, Sean, did you have a?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Debbie. Constance, I was just curious if you could give us just a short rundown of just PAD activities in and around Zone 2, specifically around Morosco. I understand there's been a lot of PAD outreach in our area, and I know you don't necessarily work for PAD, but can you just give us a rundown on maybe some of the outreach activities that y'all been doing in and around Lynridge, Martin Manor, Peachtree Hills?
Okay, so remember, we are the call center for PAD. We do take calls for them. And so once the calls come into us, we actually send it over to the state office and they go out and they engage with whoever the person may be. They do have a choice of whether or not they want to come and receive services or not. But I'm not sure just about Zone 2, but I know that we've had a lot of activity over the last month for all areas in the city of Atlanta. But I can't speak exactly just to Zone 2.
Okay, well, thank you for being here, Constance. Have a great night.
Oh, you're welcome.
Anyone else from the city representatives here to speak? If not,
yes, Officer Ferguson, Public Works.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ferguson. I'm here to represent solid waste. I don't have much to bring you guys, but just to let you know that our guys, they are out working, and we are back at collecting your yard debris, garbage, and recycling on the same day. And I would also like to let you guys know if you have any large piles or any bags over 20, it must be called in as a bulk collection in order for the debris to be removed. Do anyone have any questions for me?
Okay, I'm not sure I totally understood that, but Has anything changed?
No, we haven't had any changes.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. You guys have a good night.
Great, thank you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Any other representatives of
Hi.
the city?
Yes, hi, my name is Sharon Dixon. I'm from the city solicitor's office. Our office prosecutes code enforcement violations, such as housing code violations, business licenses, nuisance actions, things of that nature, environmental type problems, all of that. So whenever we receive citations from the various departments, we appear in court and try those cases.
Are there any active cases in NPU F that you're aware of?
Yes, there are, and I spoke to a gentleman from this NPU. He emailed me based on me leaving my information last month. There's one case, I can't remember the defendant, but that case is in compliance and it should be ready to, it's an environmental case wherein I think there were some problems. The person didn't have a permit and there was no stream buffer or things of that nature. They're giving the gentleman a little more time to bring it into compliance. He should be in compliance and receive his fine the next time he appears in court.
Okay, and is there some way of knowing when there are going to be court cases that deal with NPUF? I've never been able to figure out the municipal court schedule.
Well, I don't know that we can determine it right off. We just have to look at our court cases per day. And most times they have noted on the citations over to the right corner what NPU it's from. So it's random. They don't assign different NPUs to different days. So I think we would have to find out from the code enforcement officers or those officers, not specifically from us.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kay, did you have a question?
Yeah, so is that daily docket publicly available that we can go online and look at it?
I'm not really sure. It could be. Generally, I've only known or heard from residents that they are able to look up a specific case.
Okay.
That they know about. I don't know that that docket is available, but you could probably contact the clerk's office and find out if it is.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
My other question is, are you back to hearing cases in person or are you still virtual? How is that working?
We never went virtual, so we are in court. We are in court every day.
Okay, good to know.
Thank
you.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions for Ms. Dixon? Okay, well, thank you. And I apologize for not recognizing your name. Great. Moving on to comments from elected officials. Councilmember Juan.
Hey everyone, Alex Wan, Atlanta City Council District 6. Appreciate the opportunity to be here with y'all tonight. Hopefully my dogs are going to cooperate and not start singing to you. A couple things just wanted to update you on. First off, the Cheshire Bridge Road Bridge. I've been following this and pushing as hard as I can. I didn't realize I get sworn in and walk right into an active procurement at the city, which limits, quite frankly, what they'll tell me and what I can do. But what I do understand, however, is that I think they're intending to sign the contract for the work this week, which means they can get to work. So, I've been pushing, again, like I said, been pushing and just tracking it. That should be good news. If the weather will hold up with us and stay warm and dry, we're thinking that we might be able to get the bridge rebuilt before the RFP deadline of October 31st. So once that contract is signed, then my hands get untied and I can really push the department and the contractor to continue to start working and go as quickly as possible. Second thing is the road closure at Piedmont between Pelham and it's a little further north than Montgomery Ferry, further south of Montgomery Ferry. We're trying to find out from AGL exactly how long it's going to be closed. We're getting the standard answer. At least we got the standard answer today that it was going to be 3 months. But that's the entire Piedmont Road project. So this section should not be closed that long. It came as a surprise to us to have that section closed off this weekend, and I'll find out as soon as as soon as we find anything out specifically about the duration. I'll let you know, Debbie, to the extent that you can share out to the NPU F leaders. But we're on it to find out what we can. Someone, I think Sean asked about the homelessness situation particularly over at the Sidney Marcus interchange in the overpass. Our office convened a meeting with APD, Atlanta Police, Atlanta Fire, Continuum of Care, the homeless outreach folks, PAD, as well as GDOT, to kind of take a crack at this again. I mean, I think they did a clear out and moved the housing unsheltered recently, but really didn't give the service providers enough notice in advance to try and get them into housing or to services. And the problem with that is that we're either pushing them to another area or they're just going to end up coming back. So from what I learned from that meeting, though, is that before the pandemic, the administration was convening more regular meetings around all the different stakeholders. So we're going to lean on them to try and convene those again, and that way it'll give, again, service providers enough time to go in, build trust, and then get services to those that will accept it. But the sense of urgency that we have is that the fires are untenable under the bridges and very dangerous. So we're going to push on that one as well. Other thing I wanted to mention is and I know that there are a couple of cases on the agenda today, but as I promised y'all during the campaign season, I'm definitely going after alcohol code reform. I did get appointed by the city council to the alcohol technical advisory group. This is the third iteration of it. Was lucky enough to get appointed chair of that position. Kay Stevenson is vice chair. So the two of us are going to hopefully lead about a 6 to 12 month process in terms of soup to nuts, everything from intake of applications to neighborhood supportive review to the license review board, as well as just process once that an application goes through that and the mayor's signature, and then things around due cause and revocation. I think the appointments to chair and vice chair were the easy part. As we saw during our last meeting, there are a lot of vested interests in this whole enterprise, I should call it. But I'm determined, Kay's determined, and we have some really committed folks on that board that are looking to enhance and make the license process work, not just for license holders and the responsible ones, but also for communities. So stay tuned on that one. And if I need kind of air cover and advocacy on the neighborhoods parts, I'll definitely reach back out to y'all. One more thing I want to mention, we've started the redistricting process, much like the state assembly did that last year. We are undergoing that process as well based on the 2020 census data. District 6 is the second largest district population-wise in the city of the 12 districts. We have to lose 5,000 residents to get back down to the general average. What complicates that is District 7, which is to the north of us, also has to lose. They're the third largest, and they have to lose 3,000 residents. District 6 is probably the only one that can get that from them, which means net from our district lines today, there's going to be a decrease of probably 8,000 residents. Pretty significant. A lot of that has to do with the Emory annexation. as well as just general population growth in our area. So please stay tuned on that one. I'm not really excited about the way the process is unveiling its or unrolling right now, but I'll be fighting for us. Finally, I did want to address Ray Conlon's text message, and Debbie, I appreciate your comments about that in the chat box. You don't sign up for this position without having to have a little bit of a thick skin. So we are very well aware of the obscenity sign across from Inman Middle School. I don't think it's acceptable. The problem is we have run that up to Atlanta Police. We have run it up to code enforcement. There is nothing that they can use to address this. I cannot compel them to do it if they don't have a law or code to be able to give a citation. And that's where we're stuck at right now. So we're continuing to try, but please don't think that it is because I think it's acceptable. It's just in our reaching out to the obvious departments that would be able to assist in something like this, they're telling us that they don't have the right thing to be able to have this removed. So Lance and I in our office, we'll continue to try and see if we can figure out ways. But again, so I feel like we've exhausted every logical path that we have on that one. Or remedy. That's all I wanted to share with everybody tonight, but I'm really happy to take any questions or specific issues that anybody might have for me to take back to City Hall. The one thing I'll also say is I'm going to put in the chat my email address as well as office phone. We are back in City Hall now. So that number is good. Either Lance or Phyllis in the office will answer that. Please direct all emails to the A1 account so that way I'll see it and we can use that to forward to the departments. Lance is reading them and he'll address the ones that he can. So, okay, I see two hands. Do I get to call them or
Sure,
Madam Chair, do you call them?
No, Ron or Jessica Ledesma, I'm not sure.
Yep, that's right. Hi, Alex.
Hi.
We just had a question on the license review board, specifically who appoints the members, how long do they serve for, and who are they accountable to? We've been sitting on these meetings for the last 3 years, and I'm not saying it just gets rubber stamped, but it just seems like we kind of see on the front lines, like, hey, this doesn't look good. And like we see it coming, and then it just goes through, and despite the community opinion, things just seem to go through. So can you give us some background on the board, please?
Absolutely. The license review board members are appointed by the mayor and are accountable only to the mayor. So there is no even public confirmation process through which they would come through city council before their installation on the LRB. That is one big area, one giant module that I want ATAG 3 to go after, both in terms of the transparency and accountability piece, but also there are some processes as well. There's stupid procedure things about how they all don't have to vote if they're there. It's really very bizarre in terms of their ability to kind of duck some of the tough issues. So yeah, that is something that we're definitely want to review and get input on and help reform and really just give a lot of clarity and accountability to their process. So yeah, I share your frustration. It's on my radar, front and center.
Janet Ward.
Hey, Janet.
Hey, Alex, how are you?
Gosh, how are you?
Good. Two things I wanted to check on the status of the potential traffic light at the corner of Wildwood and Lenox, at the intersection of Wildwood and Lenox, because the traffic is all routing that way now to go north on Lenox or Cheshire Bridge. And the other one was getting rid of the no left turn sign right at Lenox there where the Citgo station is, where you have to go down to Wildwood because there's no reason for it right now. There's no traffic coming the other way.
Yeah. So regarding the Wildwood and Lennox Light, I know that we've sent that up to Atlanta DOT for evaluation. I don't think we've gotten an answer back yet from them. So I'll check in with Lance tomorrow and see if he's gotten any word back. But I know that we had floated that up as to help with kind of take some of the pressure off during this time. With regard to the no left turn, we did float that up as well. The problem is once the bridge does get back, now granted, that's still further down. Once you you ring the bell and take that down, then what the problem is once you put it back up, when the bridge is back up, that becomes somewhat problematic. Now, what we're trying to do is maybe talk to APD about just relaxing the enforcement on it, because I understand the tickets are $200, and quite frankly, that's during this time, I think we need to just extend a lot of grace to everybody as they're navigating around that bridge. So we'll continue to pursue that and see if I can get any relief that way. Janet, I'll see what I can find out about the light and get back to you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Oh my gosh, my dogs it's WrestleMania. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, the bone treat ran out.
Kay, did you have a question?
Just a quick question. I've been hearing some rumors about the city requiring some of these commissions and task forces and so forth, requiring them to meet in person starting like in April. That just seems dumb to me, because we've all been so effective meeting virtually.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what you know about that.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I've heard kind of the same rumors, and we're trying to get it confirmed. What I've been told by law is, so long as there is a state or federal emergency or city emergency order, that all city agencies, including things like finance briefings that I conduct, can continue to be conducted virtually. But as soon as all of them are lifted, then we wouldn't have any sort of whatever the order to fall under. I know that there was an ask to the state legislature this year to expand kind of open meetings to include virtual meetings. I don't know that it necessarily went anywhere this session, but it's state law governed. It's unfortunately not something that we can decide ourselves. So that's my very, very rough understanding of the rules that govern virtual versus in-person meetings.
Okay, I'll check with Stacy and see if that went anywhere.
Please, thanks.
And Jack White, you're the last hand raised.
Oh, and you're on mute.
Yeah. You'll need to unmute, Jack. There you go.
There you go.
Hello, council member. As you go to work on ATAG, there's certainly no shortage of work to do along the lines already described about the absence of professionalism, poor chairmaning of the meeting, apparent ignorance of the internal rules, which don't seem to be printed. And those are all vital things that would make for a much better meeting. I also want to note that I hope in the same breath, you will examine and report on why it is, to my mind, very obvious for example, the hearing on octopus, why it was a unanimous vote in favor of it. And quite honestly, I didn't think there was any evidence presented that made that anything other than an easy vote for the members. So I hope that as we are encouraged at the BZA and theoretically limited to render objections in the form of references to the city code and only that part of the rulemaking will help those who are trying to raise objections by specifying the context in which such objections should be made and contexts in which they are not eligible to be made. And I hope you will do both of those things. I wish you luck, sir. You have a tall hill to climb in that respect. Good luck.
Yeah, appreciate the points, Jack. I'll definitely take those back.
Great. Any other questions? Okay, I think.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for being with us. Are there any other representatives, elected officials
Hey, how's everyone? My name is Jordan Kemp. I'm here on behalf of City Council President Doug Shipman. Again, as last time, we're opening up our office line of communication. So I also did drop my email and my phone number in the chat box below. So please do not hesitate. If anybody has any questions or concerns, because we can also tag team with the council member as well. And so we don't have any announcements for this week or this month. Thank you. Have a good night.
Great, thank you. And is there anyone here from Stacey Evans' office? Apparently not tonight. Okay. Anyone else? All right, I don't see anyone else. So we will move to our consent agenda. I did place it in the chat. We have, there are 4 items on the consent agenda. 3 of them are special events applications. One of them I announced earlier was withdrawn. The first is the Show Us Strong for Life Superhero 5K and Fun Run. Is a representative for that application present?
Debbie, it's Skip Reeser. I'm here.
Okay, great. Thank you. And the 15th annual Atlanta HBCU Alumni Alliance 5K Run and Walk. Erin, are you here this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okie dokie. Okay, both of those events have been in the NPU for a number of years, and the consent agenda gives you information about the size and the location and dates. And then the 4th application is a BZA application that is being deferred. This is V21-299. Is there anyone here who wants to have an application removed from the consent agenda so that it can be discussed in their regular place on the agenda? Please raise your hand. I don't see anyone. Is there an applicant here who wants to have their application discussed at this meeting? Okay, and is there anyone here who is in opposition to any of these recommendations? The recommendations are to support the 2 special events and to defer the BZA application V21-299. All right, I don't see anyone that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Jane.
Second.
Motion by Jane, seconded by Kay to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 26 ayes. If you're opposed, let me clear the feedback. Whoops. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any. In opposition, by a vote of 26 ayes and 0 nays, the motion to approve the consent agenda passes. Alrighty. We're going to move to matters for voting. And we just have a couple special events. The city put those next on our agenda. The AJC Peachtree Road Race. Is Jenny Coakley here? Or someone representing the Peachtree Road Race?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thank you. Obviously, this has been around for a number of years. If you could just tell us what's different this year and what COVID protocols you'll be following.
So what is different this year is essentially we're going back to what was normal pre-COVID. So we're back to 1 day this year. If you recall, in 2021, it was 2 days, the 3rd and the 4th. So we are back to July 4th only. And COVID protocols, we adhere to city guidelines, but for the most part, we have COVID protocols on our website and adhere to the CDC guidelines.
Okay, are there any questions regarding the Peachtree Road Race? I don't see any questions. Is there a motion?
I move to support.
Okay. Second, thank you, Rich and Kay. All, are there, let's see, all those in favor, please raise your hand if you're of the motion to support the Peachtree Road Race. Okay, I see 28 ayes, 29 ayes, and 1 clap. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any in opposition. By a vote of 29 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries. Jenny, I hope you have a good event. Next item, this is the first time this one has been before the NPU. This is the Virginia Highland Porch Fest. It's a Class D event with 5,000 participants in John Howell Park on May 14th. Is Rob Frazier here?
Yes. Hi, thanks.
Hey, Rob. So tell us about the event.
Yeah, this is an event, it's being produced by the Virginia Highland District Association, and they've asked me to put it together, all the details of it and the logistics of it. It's a one-day event. It'll really be throughout the Virginia Highland neighborhood on porches. There'll be small live band performances in different areas on people's front porches. And then there'll be a VIP tent inside the park with a kids area inside the park with the bounce houses. And then we'll have food trucks along Barnett. So it'll be mainly Barnett and the park, but really people strolling throughout the neighborhood.
Okay. Any questions for Rob? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see any questions. Is there a motion?
Hands up.
Oh, a hands up. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Rob, who's doing security? Is it Chris Clark?
It is.
Okay. And I apologize, I didn't read the application. Will there be alcohol sales?
There will, yes. And
Okay. And you're coordinating that?
I am. Mhm.
Okay.
Very similar to what Summerfest is as far as the people involved from the logistics side.
Great.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else's hand up that I don't see? Okay, is there a motion?
Move to support.
Thank you, Kay. Second?
I second.
I'll second. Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't see who seconded.
It was Alexandra Balzer.
Okay, thank you. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to support the Virginia Highland Porch Fest on May 14th, please raise your hands. Okay, I see 30 ayes. Those that are opposed, please raise your hand. Whoops, I got to take the other ones in. Okay, now you can raise your hand. Okay, I don't see any in opposition. By a vote of 30 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Rob, and thanks for coming. Georgia Veg Fest. This is also a new event in our NPU at Piedmont Park. Is Helene Greenberg present?
I'm here. Thank you.
Great. thanks. So tell us about this event.
Georgia Veg Fest, formerly known as Atlanta Veg Fest, is an all vegan festival to educate the community about the benefits of a plant-based diet and how it impacts the environment, the animals, and your health. Just like any festival, except that everything's vegan.
And is this the first year for your festival?
It's the 11th year for Atlanta Veg Fest. We changed the name and changed who's producing the festival at the end of last year. So it's known in the community as an event that has been existing. However, we had to change the name to Georgia Veg Fest from Atlanta Veg Fest.
And where was it previously held?
A whole bunch of places. It's been at a college. It's been in, I didn't do the festival, so I've attended, but I can't necessarily tell you exactly where it was. Like on each side of the Beltline. Last year, it was held at a parking lot in Atlanta, outdoors because of COVID.
Okay, great, thank you.
Welcome.
Any questions to Helene on the Veg Fest? This is a Class D 5,000 participant on October 30th at Piedmont Park. Is there a motion?
Motion to support.
Thank you, Kay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Rich. And I think I heard Rebecca also. Okay, motion's been made and properly seconded to recommend support of the Georgia Veg Fest at Piedmont Park. All those in favor, please raise your hands. And I see 27 ayes. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I see one hand raised with 2 names. So that would be 2 nays. 3 nays. Okay. Okay, by a vote of 27-3, the motion to recommend support for the Georgia Veg Fest carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is the LRB applications. As I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, the Club Platinum application has been deferred at the request of the applicant until next month. Because it's on our agenda, we do need a motion to defer. Move to defer.
And I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Jane and Kay. Is there any opposition to deferring this application for 1 month? If so,
I have, Madam Chair.
What? Yeah, yes.
I have certainly have no opposition, but I wonder if we could get a general, just a general, nice, neutral report on the what the assessment of the issues as of this moment is. Would help inform the membership.
Because the attorney for the next item is also the attorney for Club Platinum, let's do the vote on the sequel and then go back to your suggestion. Okay. Okay, is there anyone that is opposed to deferring this application? I didn't see any hands raised. Okay, still don't see any hands raised. So this has been deferred to next month. The second LRB application is sequel 2.0. This is at 1086 Alco Street Northeast. It's a change of ownership and change of agent, and I'm going to turn this over to Jane Rawlings, who is our alcohol license chair.
Thank you. This is an application in the Linders Martin Manor neighborhood for a change of ownership and agent to an existing bar to serve and sell liquor, beer, and wine for on-premise consumption. The application has had an alcohol license within the past 12 months. Hours of operation listed on the application are 11 a.m. to midnight daily. No live entertainment is planned. It is an 820 square foot business, and per the NC zoning code requirements, they're required to have 11 parking spaces, which they do have. And I did see the applicant's attorney, Mr. Hilliard, and the agent, Ms. Worku, here. So I will turn it over to them if they would like to add any additional information to consider.
Thanks very much, Ms. Rollins and Madam Chair. My name is Hakeem Hilliard. I'm with Hilliard Starkey Law. I'm here this evening on behalf of Sequel 2.0 at 1086 Alco Street. I'm here with Ms. Worku, who's also the agent and the owner of the proposed business, and as well, Ms. Bohannon. And we're all on one iPad, so that's why we kind of look like we're in a what do you call it, a selfie. We apologize for that, but we're happy to be here. We want to tell you a little bit about the business. If you're familiar with the area and the property, this business has existed at this location, I think at least for 2 decades and possibly 3 in a few different iterations. It's Ms. Worku's intention to operate the business substantially in the same way that it's operated historically. Right now, there's no food service associated with it. It's not really set up to have a full-scale kitchen, but we are working to find a way to incorporate some sort of food service, even if it's limited. Mrs. Worku's experience, which isn't on the application because it was more than 10 years ago, she and her husband operated a restaurant called Family Affair in the city of Conyers. It was her husband's restaurant, and she worked closely with them. And I asked her what job she performed there, and she did just about everything in that business, and wanted to get back to it. This opportunity arose for them. It's a small space, as Ms. Rawlings said. It's 820 square feet of area. There are security cameras there, because of the surrounding area. We have security, probably would have security in the evening when it's open as well, to protect the patrons there from any things that happen anywhere in the vicinity. They also, no live entertainment. The hours are 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. Every day except Sunday, because there's no food service. Again, we do intend to include food service, but because of the size of the space, there's no way we're going to meet the food service requirement or the size requirement to meet the restaurant requirement. So there's no opportunity for opening on Sundays. But we're here. We're all here to answer any questions you might have about the location, our operation, or anything about our experience. And happy to be here and happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Debbie, if there are no questions, I'd like to make a motion, please.
I just want some clarification, Jane. So the concept at this location is changing? This is
It's an existing bar, or it was Opus, formerly Opus, which was a bar. And this use will be
continue
similar.
to operate as a bar, same clientele.
That's the intention, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Rich Sussman?
Yeah, good evening. I just want to clarify for the owners that there is no, I know you do have the required parking, and we are very concerned in our neighborhood about parking in the neighborhood, and they're just reminding you there is no parking on the street on Alco, and there's no parking on the adjacent street Valenti, and there are signs to that effect. So if you patrons do park there between 12 and 6 in the morning, they will be ticketed and possibly towed away. So I just want to make sure that, to be a good neighbor, you make all your patrons aware of that restriction on the parking.
We will absolutely do that. And if the patrons from this business are there between 12 and 6 and they've stayed open longer than they plan to, but we will also happy to provide a contact name and number for Ms. Bohannon if anything happens real time with respect to that, that they can get involved.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Mr. Hilliard, would you mind emailing me that number after the meeting?
Yes, I'll do that. Thank you.
And I'll keep it in the NPU file. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if there are no other questions, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
So the motion was made and seconded to approve the LRB application for sequel 2 at 1086 Alco Street. Any questions about the motion? I don't see any. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 22 ayes. Let me slide those down. All those opposed, please raise your hand. See one hand with and 2 names listed on the device. So that would be 2 nays. By a vote of 22 ayes and 2 nays, the motion carries. Okay. So before we move on to the BZA applications, Jack White had asked that we have a brief discussion. Jack, I'm really unclear on what you're asking for, and it really is out of the ordinary when we discuss applications that have been deferred. So is there something specific that you're looking for?
I went and looked at this application when it first appeared and looked at the parking and looked at a couple of things. So I could see a couple of things that were potentially challenges. And I was curious to know if we've identified any apparent challenges that no doubt the applicant will want to respond to and will have his fair chance to. I'm not suggesting that we reach any conclusions or offer any, but I think that's an appropriate question as to what they chose to defer, which is their right, and they're welcome to do that, and so forth. That's all. I didn't know if there are challenges that have been identified that are still being examined, or none substantially have been noted. I was just curious. I'm curious.
I'm sorry. Do you all want me to stay for this conversation or not?
You're welcome to, sir. It's a public meeting. You're welcome to stay.
Okay. Okay.
If Ms. Skopinski wants you to reply, she can allow you to, but I was more.
This is not his case, Jack.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought Debbie said it was. My bad.
Well, and he is the attorney for the applicant. So.
Oh, okay.
We were ready to address this issue at this NPU meeting. And Jane has identified 3 open issues that she still needed clarification on. Jane, did you want to address those? Just the 3?
This is wrong.
Oh, and Mr. Hilliard and I have been in email discussions about some of these questions, and he has responded to some and has promised additional information on others. But just in general, parking, the current status of the alcohol license, let's see, there were some omissions from the original application that we've written back and forth about. I have heard from neighbors concerns regarding overflow parking. So that, I mean, just in general, that's what we're working on now.
Can I let you all know, just for information purposes, and I'm sorry it was deferred this evening, but I'm in the unique position this evening of representing the new owner of the business, which is what's triggered this application. But the applicant and agent is the same person who was previously approved by you all, or well, previously approved for the license. And so I'm not able to respond to the operational concerns, and he will be here with his counsel to do that at the next meeting. And then the owner also wanted to be here as well. And that's the reason why we made the request. So a lot of I did submit the application prepared, but he needs to be here. And Ms. Rollins, that's the delay in responding to some of the questions is because of that. But I will respond to everything and get you the answers to all the questions that you might have. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to the BZA applications. We have several. The first is B2218 at 847 Ponce de Leon Place. Rebecca or Jack, do you want to take over as co-zoning chairs? Someone? If not, I'm going
The
to.
applicant Hugh Tully is present, so we can turn it over to him, Mr. Tully. Hey, Hugh. You're muted, Hugh.
There we are. I'm sorry, Jack, had trouble finding the button. What we're asking to do is to put a swimming pool in the backyard of Esther Lee's home. She's on a corner lot, so we're asking for the variance. I think it's called a half depth rear yard, and then also a side setback. The whole yard is pretty much enclosed with a fence and very mature landscaping. So none of this is going to be seen. It's a very small pool to keep the impervious right. It had to be small. Our access is from the common driveway on the other side of the house. And as I say, it's this half-depth rear yard situation because she's on a corner lot. And I've met Jack and another gentleman out there once on site, and they both kind of agreed that it was a doable thing.
Planning committee did a site visit. Chip and I were on this one, and we found no challenges. It's already got an existing fence that will serve, we think, meet safety parameters, no tree issues, no lot coverage issues. Neighbors are notified, good access, and not very, very close, but may not reach the stormwater threshold. And the city will decide to have the final bite on that question, but very minimal if it does. The planning committee and the board recommend approval unanimously, and that is my motion.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, a motion's been made and properly seconded to recommend approval of V2218, which is at 847 Ponce de Leon Place. For those of you that haven't seen the agenda, the applicant seeking to reduce the half-depth front yard setback from 17.5 feet to 11 feet, 6 inches, and the rear yard setback from 15 feet to 12 feet, and a special exception to allow active recreation, a swimming pool in a yard adjacent to a street. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, I see 20 ayes. If you're opposed to the motion to recommend approval, please raise your hand. I don't see anyone in opposition. By a vote of 20 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries. Next application is.
Thank you very much, all.
Thanks, Hugh.
Yeah.
Next application is V2223 1987 Wellborn Drive. Rebecca, this one's one of yours.
Yes, and we have Grant Davies, the homeowner, and Nina Gentry on the call. So what do you guys want to give us a summary of what you guys are planning to do?
You did, Nina.
Nina, are you still on the call?
Muted. Unmute thyself, ma'am. You hit it twice, Nina. It flacked off and came right back on. It's still muted.
Well, I didn't do it. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I'm Nina Gentry. I'm here with my client, Grant Davies, who owns and resides at the property at 1987 Wellborn Drive. Grant wishes to construct a freestanding accessory structure in his rear yard. And this is an interesting situation where this particular property, along with several others on the same side of the street as Wellborn, should really be zoned R4 rather than R3. They meet or are less than the standards for R4 lots. Grant's land area is 8,994.58 square feet, and his frontage is 60 feet. Therefore, he has about 50% less area and 60% less frontage than is required for an R3 lot. So when we met with Morningside, they did do a site visit. I wasn't able to attend that as I was at my niece's wedding, but Grant obviously was there. And we've met with zoning and Morningside. We're asking to increase the lot coverage to 49.62%, which is more than the permitted 40% for R3 lots. And we're asking to reduce the rear yard setback from to 14 feet, which is less than the 20-foot required. But both of these issues would not be required should the property be zoned R4. And so therefore, that is what we're asking for your support of. And I would offer Grant to make any comments he may need, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Grant,
I would just, I'll just add real quick. Behind my property is where they're building those new condos that are on Cheshire Bridge. So I've got apartments. I've got a 12-foot wall behind me, so there'll be nobody bothered by my structure. And all my neighbors are in support. I got signatures of, I think, 8 neighbors, both left, right, across the street, and 2 doors over.
Okay,
Thanks, Grant.
And Morningside voted unanimously to approve this, and I'll make that my motion.
Okay, Rebecca's made the motion, Jack seconded it. Are there any questions for the applicant?
I will add that the applicant has one of the more remarkable automotive vehicles in this neighborhood between Chip and Rebecca. If we're ready to take on any neighborhood in a variety of competitions.
Debbie, I do have a question.
Sure. Oh, go ahead, Rich.
And this is really directed towards Doug. As Nina was describing the area, they really meet R4 requirements, although it is zone R3. Does the city, what does the city think about this sort of thing when you have a situation like this? And Doug, if you're on the still around, could you do you have any thoughts about this?
Doug is still.
I am.
Oh, there you go.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I believe the question is, does the city have any thoughts on lots that are, if you will, miszoned? Is that the question?
I guess you could call this mid-zoned, yeah.
Not particularly, in the sense that there are properties of which the zoning category doesn't align with the physical characteristics of the lot or the property. You know, the zoning patterns were established in some cases on a more macro scale, and that might have created outliers in a given neighborhood or corridor. If there's a conversation to be had about aligning those better, that should be done via community process, and the city can entertain that request.
Okay. Thank you.
And Richard, if I could say, it's a very small area on the same side of the street from about the residential zone properties from Cheshire Bridge up until maybe one lot beyond my client's lot. So it is an outlier. And all of Wellborn, as my understanding is, R3. So it just happens to be there.
Somehow those lots got squeezed in, you're saying.
I would think so, back in 1982.
Okay, thank you.
Which seems like just yesterday. Okay, so there is a motion to recommend approval of V2223 at 1987 Wellborn Drive. The applicant seeking a variance to reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 14 feet and increase their lot coverage from 40% to 49.62%. All those in favor, please raise your hand. I see 20 ayes. Those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay. Okay, I don't see any nays. By a vote of 20 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you for your support and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Thank you.
all. Next application, V2229, 865 Arlington Place Northeast. This is in Virginia Highland. Yeah.
Chip is on the line. Chip, would you like to, or Pam is, would you like to introduce?
Yeah, I'm on the line. Hi, I'm Pam Bullock with PSP Studio Architecture. My client is at 865 Arlington Place. And they would like to add a garage behind their house attached with a screen porch above it. And the lot slopes off significantly from front to back. So the garage would be at the basement level and the screen porch would be on the first floor level. And the existing house is 4 feet from the property line on the on the north side yard. And it tapers slightly towards the setback line. So we would like to align the back of the garage with the edge of the house, which would bring us down to 3 foot 9 inches for our requested setback. The required is 7 feet by code. We're also asking for an increase. The required area of a garage to a house or to a main floor is 35%, and we would be at 38.7%. Not because it's such a big garage, but it's a very small house. It's 1,450 feet. We've notified all the neighbors. The neighbors are in favor. I'll take any questions.
Okay, are there any questions?
Virginia Highland Planning Committee and Board unanimously, everything in compliance, no tree issues, no lot coverage issues, neighbors notified, no opposition registered, and both groups unanimously recommended approval, and that is my motion.
Okay. Is
I'll
there a
second.
second? Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, are there any questions for Pam or any questions regarding the motion? The motion is to recommend approval of V2229 at 865 Arlington Place Northeast. This applicant's requesting a north side yard setback from 7 feet to 3 feet 9 inches and to increase the percentage of the garage on the ground floor from 35% to 38.7%. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Counting 19 ayes. Those opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any nays. By a vote of 19 ayes and 0 nays, the motion to recommend approval carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the last application is V2231 at 1018 Reader's Circle, Northeast in Morningside.
Yes, and we have Adam Stillman on the call.
Good evening, I'm Adam Stillman. I'm the architect on the project for Sean Sprague and Dan Priester's house at 1018 Reader Circle, which is a corner lot at the intersection of Reader Circle and Cumberland Drive. So their house is on the southeast corner. What we're doing is adding an addition to the back of the existing house. The existing house sits within the half-depth setback along Cumberland Drive. It also sits within the front setback along Reader Circle and the south side setback. But we're only asking for a variance for that half-depth reduction to 10.75 feet, which will allow us to build straight off the back of the house for an addition that will contain a garage on the basement level that will be accessed off Cumberland Drive, living spaces on the main level, and like the existing 1.5-story Tudor house, the addition will be 1.5 stories. So the new upstairs space will be built into the roof via the use of gables and dormers. The second part is a special exception to allow a 6-foot privacy fence within that half-depth front yard. There already is a 6-foot privacy fence there, so we're just relocating it with the addition. We won't be building it all the way out to the sidewalk in order to allow some room for landscaping and to make sure that Sean and Dan will have good sight lines when pulling in and out of the garage for anyone who might be coming down the sidewalk along Cumberland Circle. We've notified all the neighbors. We've gotten good feedback and met with the Morningside Zoning Committee a couple weeks ago, and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Great, thank you.
And we did do a site visit and it was a unanimous approval from the board and the zoning committee to recommend approval for this. I'll make that my motion.
Second.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant or Morningside regarding this application? Motion's been made and seconded to recommend approval of V2231 at 1018 Reader's Circle Northeast. The applicant has 2 requests. One is to reduce the half-depth front yard setback from 17.5 feet to 10.75 feet. And then also a special exception to increase the height of a privacy fence, which is more than 50% opaque from 4 feet to 6 feet. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Hey, Daniel, can I give you a call tomorrow? I have something I'd like to ask you a question about. Daniel Preister.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to give you a call tomorrow, if that's
Jack,
okay.
Hey,
Unrelated.
Jack, this is not the right time. Thank you. Okay, I see 19 ayes. Let me lower your hands. If you're opposed to the motion to recommend approval, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. By a vote of 19 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries to recommend approval.
Thank you.
That is the end of the BZA applications and our voting matters. Next item on the agenda is the planner's report. Doug, do you have a planner's report?
I do indeed. Good evening, everybody. My name is Doug Young with the Department of City Planning's Office of Design. I'm the NPU planner assigned to NPU F, but in my day job, I'm the assistant director for the city's historic preservation programs and studio. I do have a couple quick announcements tonight for you all to consider. First is the NPU University program is still going strong. There was a course on March 10th that was offered about the parliamentary procedures class. It was recommended for community leaders and those who are using parliamentary procedures for meetings or what have you. That already occurred, of course, but please keep an eye out for additional NPU University class registration items. I'll put the chat in the chat. I'll put the registration link for any future courses that you might be interested in improving upon. The second announcement is the City of Atlanta is commencing its annual process of amending and revising the capital improvements element of the city's comprehensive development plan. If you want to find out what the capital improvement program is and how to provide comments to it or how to make amendments to it, you can click on the link in the chat I'll provide in just a minute. Then lastly, for our announcements, the short-term rental ordinance went into effect on March 1st. This ordinance allows residents or their tenants to rent their property, their primary residence, to short-term visitors. A license from the City of Atlanta must be obtained, and you have to post that in all of your advertisements and notifications about the rental opportunity. Again, I'll provide a link in the chat for more information about that program and how to become properly registered. And those are our three announcements from the Department of City Planning.
Doug, do you know the timetable for working on the CDP?
I do not know that yet, but I expect to have more information about that pretty shortly.
And do you think it'll be on the same kind of time frame as it was last year, where it has to be completed by the end of October?
I don't believe so. The amendment last year was to meet one of the cycles coming from Department of Community Affairs and then through Atlanta Regional Commission. So I think the city is looking to take a little more time in that regard to get a more widespread update to the CDP. But we'll definitely, whenever we have that calendar, we'll definitely, obviously tell all the folks on this call and many others as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions for Doug? Jane Rawlings. Hello.
Doug, as the city prepares to rebuild Cheshire Bridge, will a design plan be posted for public input? And I ask just because with all of the recommendations made on the Cheshire Bridge Road Task Force, probably over a decade ago now, to make the area more bikeable and walkable, if those recommendations could be incorporated in the bridge design, that would be great.
So noted. I'll pass that along.
Thank you.
Is there anyone that we should lobby to make sure that it happens?
I don't know offhand, except to say that the Public Works Department is, involved with roads and bridges in general. So I suspect there's a project manager somewhere that's leading that up. Councilmember Wan's office might know much quicker, but I'm happy to look that up as well.
Okay. Great. Any other questions for Doug? Great. That's good. Next item on the agenda is neighborhood and committee reports. I'm going to start with the chair report. That may make a little bit more sense in a few minutes. The community impact grants proposal was submitted by the March 4th deadline to the planning department. I wanted to thank the neighborhood project managers that helped me put together the information that was required for the form. The committee that will be reviewing the applications meets this week, and we should receive an award letter at the beginning of April. there is just one possible blip in this process. I didn't receive a confirmation email from the system telling me that my application had been submitted. I did talk to the planning person to make sure that he got it, and he said he did, but I never got a copy of it back. So I'm hoping that that went through, and I do have a phone call into him. The next thing is I attended a stakeholders meeting for the Beltline Subarea 6 master plan review. The meeting was primarily to share what reference information had been gathered in preparation for the review with the public. Mostly the information that they had pulled together came from the master plans for the impacted neighborhoods, like the Virginia Highland master plan, the Morningside master plan, et cetera. One piece that they had not included, and I asked that they go back and pull, is the CDP NPU policies for NPUs E and F. I think F was pretty much our policy statements come from our master plans, but NPUEs is much broader. So I wanted to make sure that that was all incorporated. Next, this is the time of year when annual financial disclosure statements need to be filed with the Ethics Department. City of Atlanta employees, elected officials, and boards and commission members are required to complete the annual disclosure. Kay and I, as chair and vice chair of the NPU, had to submit financial disclosures. And if you're curious, you can see them on the ethics website. APAB met on Saturday. It was announced that APAB, as an official city board, is to begin in-person meetings in April. The planning department is offering 4 NPUs the opportunity to experiment with hybrid meetings, which they're defining as in-person and virtual meetings using technology provided by the city. NPUs can continue to meet virtually. There are no requirements that we have in-person meetings. And so I wanted to do a quick poll of those present tonight to see where you as a group stand on going back to meeting in person. And so I'm going to launch a poll. There are 2 questions on it. First question is, should NPU F meet in person via Zoom or other virtual app, or offer an option for attendees? And so if you'll just vote on where you stand with that. And while we're doing that, I just wanted to mention that I sent a note to Hillside last week asking if they would be open to NPU F returning sometime in the future. Having in-person meetings is at the discretion of the NPU, and obviously where we have it will depend on our host. So in the meantime, we'll continue to meet virtually until we know exactly what we're allowed to do. Okay. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to vote. So this is fairly definitive. I see no votes for meeting in person. 67 or 10 out of 15 votes voted for Zoom, 10 out of 17 meetings, and 7 out of 17 for a hybrid meeting. And when I asked the question, are you more likely to attend a meeting in person or using a virtual app, the response was 100% Zoom. So let me just capture this. 59. Thank you for your input. It looks like you all are preferring Zoom meetings as well. Okay, so let me go back to the neighborhood reports. we'll go around the NPU. And if you could mention what your plans are, if you're going to be meeting in person or in continue to meet in Zoom. Lindridge Martin Manor, anything going on in your neighborhood?
Yeah, we were supposed to have a party down at Armand Park on February 27th, but our social chairperson always picks lousy days. It's snow, rain, so I think we're going to fire her. Anyway, we're still going to be meeting by Zoom. We're going to have a May board meeting, which is going to be open for everybody. So for all intents and purposes, what I understand is we'll still be meeting by Zoom.
Okay, great. Piedmont Heights? Anyone here from Piedmont Heights? Okay, Morningside Lenox Park?
Hey, we are still meeting via Zoom, but we are hoping to meet in person starting in May and then kind of go to a hybrid, maybe every other month in person Zoom. And then if we can figure out the technology and like live stream from in person. The MLPA is also excited to announce a tentative schedule of upcoming events for this year. Just to name a few, we look forward to hosting a new mother's brunch, a new neighbor welcome, and an inaugural pickleball tournament, in addition to our regular concert in the park series.
Sounds like fun. Great, thank you. Virginia Highland?
Debbie, so as of right now, we're still going Zoom, but it was brought up today if we're comfortable moving back to in person, so it hasn't been decided, but as of right now, we're still Zoom.
Okay. Anything going on in the neighborhood?
We are ramping up for Summerfest, so that will be June 11th, and it's just a one-day event this year versus a two-day event in the past.
Okay. Summerfest application will be on our agenda next month. Edmund Park?
Nothing here, Debbie.
Okay. Emory CDC area, Druid Hills. Is anyone here? I didn't see anyone here. And switching to committee reports, parks, trees, and environment.
Yes. I want to remind everybody that Trees Atlanta, it will be having its native plant sale on April 2nd at the Carter Center, and I think on April 9th up in Dunwoody, but it's a lot easier to go to the Carter Center. So if you're all wanting to put your plants in this spring and want to go native, Trees Atlanta has a long list of plants, and they're all very, very good plants. Secondly, I was being a master gardener. I was at a call with one of the professors at Georgia talking about gardening for this year. If you're interested in gardening, he's reminding us, don't put your spring crops into the soil unless it's 65 degrees. Otherwise, they won't go anywhere. And the University of Georgia has weather stations distributed throughout the state of Georgia. I'll try and get the website and put it in the chat where you can check on the weather station. It will give you soil moisture, temperature, and other facts to guide how you garden any time of year. I also would encourage everybody, if they're looking for other plants or particularly vegetables, the Gwinnett Tech Horticultural Program grows their own vegetables for sale to the public through the horticultural program. Just go on to the Gwinnett Tech website. It's worth the trip up there. It's all done by the students, and it's very worthwhile to get your plants through Gwinnett Tech or through Trees Atlanta instead of going to a big box store.
Cool.
Hey, Debbie, I want to mention that there's a stream bank buffer encroachment potential application, and that got submitted through the NPU as it is. It also, this involves the very upper reaches of a tiny stream behind Wayne Avenue up near Hill Pine, which either is or is not, depending on a decision that will get made, a legal stream under the laws of the United States and the state of Georgia. The developer of a large house who wants to put in a pool believes that it is not, and found somebody that agreed with him. The neighbors including some that we've known for a long time here, and a prominent landscape architect, did not agree and hired a rather significant expert who had a different opinion. So this matter's in front of the city of Atlanta, and we will follow it. But if you've read or heard about it, it's being followed step by step. Interesting process in an obscure sort of way, but an important one in terms of what is or is not a stream. Thanks. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Lee Matthews, do you have an education report?
Yes, so I'm sure many of you all have been following the rezoning efforts of APS, specifically to the Midtown cluster. At the end of the year, they had recommended a 4-5 academy. However, recently they came out with 2 new recommendations. So the 4-5 academy is no longer on the table, which would have brought together all the schools from the cluster together at an earlier time in 4th grade. Now the 2 scenarios are the first one being a brand new elementary school that would be in the old Inman Schools or Inman Middle Schools building. And then the second scenario is a dual campus for Spark Elementary. So K through 2 would be at the current Spark campus, and then the 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders would be at the Inman Middle campus. There was a listening session this past week with APS, but it was a broad one. It was about all the rezoning of all the clusters. So there wasn't a lot of information. I did try to specifically ask why the recommendation changed and, you know, why these 2 new options were a better option. And I didn't really get a clear answer. It was a little vague. So there is an listening session tomorrow, which is Tuesday, March 22nd from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Inman, well, currently Morningside's campus, but the old Inman campus. So if anyone is interested in just learning about these options and asking questions, I would definitely recommend coming and being there to do so. I'm also going to drop my email in the chat. So if you are interested in these 2 options and you have not seen them, you haven't seen the map or how it would rezone everything, feel free to email me and I can send that out.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And public safety. Anything else to?
Just one quick thing. For those who in the past were involved with Court Watch, we're hearing rumors, as you know, even before COVID, under Paul Howard, that program had been allowed to atrophy. But we're hearing rumors that our mayor and the new sheriff, along with APD and the Fulton County DA, want to reconstitute that program. So if you're interested, I will be keeping tabs on that. I will let you know. We're hearing probably in the June timeframe that will be kicking off again.
And wasn't municipal court going to have a court watch kind of?
Well, I've actually been asking the mayor if he would do that. They do it in DeKalb or in Decatur. But so far I haven't really seen any traction or any interest in that happening, but we'll keep pushing on it because it would be, for some cases, a lot. I mean, you know, average traffic tickets, obviously, we don't really need to court watch, but it would be worthwhile for those judges to know somebody is watching them, because some of them are pretty, they need some watching. Let me just leave it at that.
I agree. Cool. Okay, great. Thank you. We have no text amendments. There's no old business. Is there any other business to come before the NPU tonight? I see no hands raised or hear no voices. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay. That was Kay and Rich. I think that.
Yep.
Yeah.
we're anxious to do both. Okay. All those in favor, all those opposed to adjourning the meeting can watch Zoom by themselves. The meeting's adjourned. It's 9:01. It's an early meeting, 9:02.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. Don't forget that you can save the chat. There are 3 little dots at the bottom of the screen. If you click on that, there's an option to save it. And all that great information that we've gotten from APD and others will be captured.
Thank you, Debbie.
Varuna, thank you. There were a number of people at this meeting that are from outside the NPU.
Yeah, I noticed that Kyle was here. Ron Lull is still here.
Yeah, Waukesha Howe, I know she attends all NPU meetings.
And Nina apparently is on, she's the secretary for her NPU.
Yeah.
But she was asking me questions in the chat about our verification and why we're doing that. And apparently they're not doing anything like that. But they may be organized differently to begin with.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how they manage it. I just think it's the same process that we would use in a in-person meeting. Except that it's good.
Yeah, that's what I explained to her, how we used to do it when we met in person. And this was sort of the best we could come up with, which isn't great, but it does work.
Yeah, for those folks that that you sent notices out, how long are you going to keep them on the list?
Yeah, I was trying to decide. I certainly haven't booted anybody off yet. I don't know. I thought I'd give them 2 or 3 months, a couple of reminders. I mean, I was way late in getting the first notice out. So some of them have been almost 2 full years already. But I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Most of those early people are on our mailing list, and I don't know of anyone that is asked to drop off.
I got a response from one who said they were moving out of the NPU. But most people are just either going to do it or blow it off.
Yeah. I think some people just like to see what's on the agenda.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Now,
by the way, I thought Jack's request to discuss something that had been deferred when we had already told everyone they could leave and the owner was not there was completely inappropriate.
Jack isn't completely inappropriate.
Yeah. I mean, it just was a complete time waster.
Of course.
But aside from that, it really was inappropriate for a body like this to be discussing the case in public with the attorney there about what problems we have with the case.
Yeah, and that's why I tried to frame it with, I knew Jane had some open questions that I knew weren't going to get answered. So,
I mean, as it turned out, I think it was fine, but I would have just said, no, we're not going to discuss that. We'll discuss it next month.
God, I just don't know how to manage Jack.
Well, I mean, I think, when he started trying to set up phone calls with people, I think, the way you handled that was perfect. This is not the right time.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to just shut him down and we have to be comfortable saying no. And then if he doesn't like it, muting him. I was glad he did not get on his education bandwagon.
Well, and he spent almost an hour with me trying to convince me to change the process for the consent agendas.
Oh, my God.
Like, Jane called me earlier and I was telling her that he might bring it up. He wants if the neighborhoods have approved it and have done due diligence. I mean, they've done a site visit and they've worked out all the issues for it to go on the consent agenda just as it for approval, which I can sort of understand, but as part of Jack's process, he said, we'll publish a report and people can read it. And of course, anybody can take anything off the consent agenda. That
right.
I totally get that. But he's assuming that, he said, if people are interested, they can read the report. Well, people don't read the report.
And when has Jack ever written a report?
Well, that's what I told him. I said,
you can't get him to send you a report.
No, he hasn't sent one in 3 months, at least, if not longer. And so I told him, write it up and I want to see it before the meeting. Well, he said, yeah, I'll get it to you before the meeting. Well, I never got it.
Yeah.
So,
So there's another hour of your life you'll never get back for no good reason.
I know. And he calls me at least once before every meeting to tell me how I should speed things up. He doesn't want me reading the variance requests.
Well, that's ridiculous because by him not reading them tonight, we had no idea what was being requested.
Right.
We had this vague, maybe the owner explained it well and maybe they didn't. And
and Jack said, well, it's printed on the agenda. I said, well, not everybody has the agenda.
That's right. Especially because we're in this virtual environment. Not everybody can open a file.
Right. So, and I think he just wants to introduce it at the NPU meeting and then have us vote on it and then it'll be law. And that ain't the way it's going to work.
Well, at a minimum, it has to be discussed at executive committee as part of a discussion about the policy sheet, or would it be policy sheet or bylaws?
It's the policy sheet.
Yeah. It would have to at least be discussed there before we could put it before the body.
Well, in the interest of transparency, I've been putting everything on, giving at least a month's notice. So we'll publish it 1 month and vote on it the next. I think that is the right thing to do.
Right.
Now, we're just going to have to talk about process. And then Ray Conlon's.
Oh my God.
What is wrong with her?
I have no idea, but that was really out of line. I didn't realize, I couldn't see any way that we could delete something from the chat, but I was tempted to remove her from the meeting. Because, I mean, that would have been good grounds to remove her from the meeting.
Yeah, I think so too.
If she ever tries anything like that again, she's been warned.
Yeah. And then I don't know if you saw her husband or another Conlon, made a comment a little bit later.
Oh, about amending, Brian did. Amend the code, no hate, no profanity. And then Alex said something like, as in his dialogue, he said, I hope I have addressed the issue. And they said, no, you have not.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't disagree with him. It's totally inappropriate, but what is it you expect Alex to do about it? You can't change the code to ban freedom of speech.
I know. I haven't driven by there in a while. Is it a big sign, like a handwritten?
have driven by there in the last couple days and I didn't notice it, but I was watching the road, so I'm not really sure.
Do you even know where it is?
It said,
It's across from the school.
yeah, directly across from Inman Morningtide that says, yeah, it just says it's across from the school.
I drove by there a couple days ago and I don't remember seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be that big a sign. I do kind of wonder though, is there any context around it or is it just that?
Well, depending on where it is, someone could just take the damn thing down.
Well, if it's on private property, you can't.
Is it?
I assume that's why the police haven't done anything.
If it
was on city property, public right away, they could just take it down.
So if it's across from the school, wouldn't that be city property?
Well, which direction across from the school? If it's on Virginia, those are homes across from the school. If it's on Park, those are homes. If it actually,
John Howell Park is,
that's the schoolyard. Yeah, but I mean, other than John Howell Park, all four sides have homes, private property. And I assume if it was in John Howell Park, David would have just gone and taken it down by now.
yeah. Well,
I mean, there's got to be some reason the law department is saying there's nothing we can do. That's why I just assumed it was on private property.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. It's probably a First Amendment issue.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wouldn't mind just walking up to the front door and asking what the backstory was.
Yeah, right.
Right. I said,
I wonder if these people have done that.
Maybe I want to put a same sign up in front of my house.
Yeah. If it says "fuck you, Trump," I mean, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, me too.
So I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it, but
well, I realize that fuck is a word a lot of people don't like, but it's just another word.
That's right. That's right. And most of us don't use it remotely to reflect what it actually means.
I know.
It's an adjective, it's a noun, it's
a verb.
It's all parts of speech and has been part of my vocabulary since I was about 15. So at least.
Oh, well, I was a late bloomer. I don't think I picked up on it until, and in fact, I remember the exact day was Earth Day when I was a freshman in college. And one of the speakers got up and it was motherfucker this.
Right.
I must have heard it like 37 times. Okay. Now I know how to use it.
Who was the guy that used to have the program where he interviewed actors and directors and everything, and at the end he would always do that question thing. I can't remember the host name, but at the where he got this survey he would do, but it was from some French guy, and the last question was always, "What is your favorite curse word?" And mine has always been "fuck this shit." I needed a compound, right?
Right. Not a single.
I can't do it in one word. Oh God.
Yeah.
But anyway, but that was I mean, gosh, you were done before 9 o'clock. That was awesome.
I know. We haven't had a 2-hour meeting in forever.
Gosh.
And it's pretty definitive that nobody wants an in-person meeting.
Oh my God. Yeah. I do have to check with Stacy and see if anything passed about doing virtual meetings, because that would make so much sense. I can't believe it's a state law that controls that, but I guess it's part of Open Meetings Act or whatever they call it.
We're not under the umbrella of open meetings, other than our meetings have to be open to the public.
Right. I'm not thinking of it so much as the NPU, but even with this ATAG, all the people on this group are busy people, and we will not get as good a participation if we have to go to City Hall to have the meeting.
Oh, yeah, I know.
At 5 o'clock, you have to get downtown for a meeting. That's really dumb.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So, and I assume the same with most of these boards and task forces and whatnot, that they're working well virtually. I mean, the LRB isn't going to work well no matter where they hold it.
I know. That doesn't work well.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Yeah. No.
That one's a mess, but the other ones seem to do just fine.
Yeah. Yeah, they all have figured it out. Oh, which reminds me, I can't believe how much Leah talks out of both sides of her face. I mean, I saw you were having some conversation with Ann, and I was having some conversation with Ann because I had sent her something about the rec centers.
Right.
And she was telling me how she'd had this long conversation with Leah, and Leah and her staff were all very concerned about virtual meetings and how it was going to work. And I told Ann how defensive she got when we brought up our concerns, that they had a solution and it was going to be so easy. Just.
Yeah, I know.
I know we're stuck with her, but boy, she's not doing us any favors.
No, she's not. And she has a big problem with making commitments that they never follow through on.
Yep. I mean, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm not remembering, but she claimed that she's been begging people to do this pilot since November. And the other day was the first time I heard her really talk about it at all.
She might have mentioned it once before, but I know it has not been every month since.
Right. Yeah, I was sure of that.
Because I was at every one of those meetings except August, and she did not bring it up.
Right. So she just seems to be spending all of her energy making sure she keeps her job. And it's a shame because she's got good people working for her.
Yeah, she does. She really does. I don't know what I'd do without Daniel.
Yeah.
And even Tony's starting to grow on me.
Well, at least he knows his stuff. If you have a problem, he does know the answer.
Yeah. And he's quick about it.
Yeah.
Samantha, not so much. I haven't quite figured out Samantha.
I haven't really had to deal with her. I think they're, I don't know, a little over impressed with themselves with this whole NPU University stuff.
Ugh, I know.
And the idea that somebody had to go take that parliamentary procedure class in order to get, something relative to the grants. How many times do they expect y'all to take it?
I know.
I mean, I took it. That should count.
And did you take it last year? Yeah. And I took it
maybe 2 years ago. Anyway,
yeah,
not that long ago.
And I took it in one of their advanced classes. I never took the basic one last summer. But when they made such a big deal about it, there was no way to identify someone from the NPU that went to that class. So
Right.
I sent an email to Tony over the weekend and said, Holly Sassnet went to the parliamentary procedure class for the NPU. And I said that she was a member of our parks committee, which was, kind of close
A
enough,
stretch.
close enough. But and that we had attended all three, and there was absolutely no place. There wasn't any place on the grants form to indicate who is attending. So they just don't think through
Exactly.
what they're doing.
Exactly.
They have some good ideas, but they don't follow through.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're in 27 different directions.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, well,
No.
it is what it is.
Mm.
Do you think this sub-area 6 master plan thing is worth going to tomorrow night? I mean, are they just going to lecture at us, or are they really looking for input?
No, I have no idea. It's the Beltline folks, and their meetings are horrible.
Oh my God. Well, they're boring, but also they
They're-
present, they don't engage.
Right. This is Jack again, but Jack said Virginia Highland has hired Aaron Fortner to represent
Right.
Virginia Highland on this board, and you'll love working with him. He's so charming. And I guess Morningside is also splitting the fee for participation. I honestly don't know where this thing is going or how they're going to come up with recommendations or whatever. I'm afraid not to go.
Right. That's the way I feel. But I also know from watching what's happening around all the rest of the city that the Beltline folks do whatever the hell they want.
Oh, yeah.
They really could care less what the public thinks about anything.
I know. Well, sub-area 6 was the last segment to be approved because there's a whole lot of resident input and contention over it. So I don't know if the same players are going to have an interest. Jennifer Keenan, I guess, was one of them.
Heaven help us.
No. Yeah, I don't know. As I said, I'm just afraid not to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm signed up, so I'll at least log in. But if it's clear that it's just going to be a webinar with them presenting stuff.
Or, yeah, and in my case, it's the same thing that they presented at the stakeholders meeting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely not on that list. I haven't seen any of that stuff except what you're sending to me.
Yeah, I was impressed with the stakeholders. I mean, they've got a pretty good balance of neighborhoods and business representatives.
I thought it was interesting though that the materials that you forwarded to me, they said, now don't share this with anybody.
Right.
This is secret stuff, right?
That's right, because that's what we're going to present at the public meeting.
Oh, God. Yeah, I couldn't be more disappointed in Clyde Higgs and the people that are running ABI. It's just really disappointing. Between them and Marta, the whole opportunity really has just been squandered.
Oh, Marta's another piece of work.
Yep.
Do you know what's going on with that Campbellton area Campbellton Road, BRT versus LRT?
Yeah, I mean, well, this is from my perspective. People that I think are knowledgeable, like Ryan Gravel and guys I know that have worked for the Atlanta Regional Commission and transportation, and people that have been doing this for decades, all say that Campbellton Road is just an ideal case for bus rapid transit. But bus rapid transit costs less than light rail.
Right.
And Marcy Overstreet is basically said, you promised me X number of dollars and you're going to spend them, God damn it, in my district. So we will have light rail transit because that's what you promised me. And you're not taking any of my money and spending it somewhere else. Just ignorant. And she and others, it's not just her,
right,
have stirred up the public who really doesn't understand, they couldn't even tell you what BRT stands for,
right,
let alone what the differences between light rail and bus rapid transit are, and the pros and cons or any of that. But they're up in arms because they've been told they're getting screwed. So that's my perception of what's going on. She's made an issue about the money as opposed to really trying to understand the technology and what is the best solution.
Well, wouldn't bus rapid transit be much faster to install?
Yes, much faster.
And that solves the problem that they've got.
Yep. Yes. And I mean, I'm the first to say Campbellton Road should be the first priority. There are more people that live along or near Campbellton Road that don't have access to personal vehicles and that need to get elsewhere to work, to school, to whatever, than anywhere else in the city. So they should be first, which also means they should be eager to have whatever they can get fastest.
Right.
And bus rapid transit also gives them more flexibility. Even this whole getting stuck in traffic thing. With light rail, it will still get stuck in traffic, even if it has a dedicated lane, because some moron will park across the track.
Yeah.
With bus, you can, if they're a little in your way, you can go around them.
Right. And can't buses control the lights?
If you properly implement bus rapid transit, yes, you have what they call signal prioritization.
Right.
So as they're approaching, they can turn the light green. You have what they call off bus boarding, which means you buy your ticket and you do all that at the station, which is,
right.
It's not really a full station. It's a canopy kind of thing. And then you just step onto the bus and take your seat and away you go. You don't have a bunch of people queuing up, swiping their cards and all that on the bus. So it keeps the headways much more efficient. It's just, and the thing is, by and large, Campbellton Road is a wide, good road with plenty of right of way. They have to buy almost no land to do it. Whereas with the light rail, they actually have to buy a lot of land, which means people are going to get kicked out of their houses. So it's just idiotic. But, if your council person can't get behind the plan that's actually best for her constituents, and Dickens went right along with her.
Well, I knew that Keisha was big proponent of the light rail.
Mm-hmm.
But that represented that area, right?
Right. I don't know.
I don't either. Jeez. God, I'd be in favor of sooner rather than later and more.
Right?
expensive.
Yeah. And we need a good proof of concept for bus rapid transit. Because people need to see it and understand what it is, because they hear bus and they think,
Yeah.
regular buses. Not that our regular buses are bad. We don't have enough of them, and they don't go enough places, and they don't go often enough.
Well, they don't go to places where you want to go.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And when we went to Europe, we always took public transportation.
Yep. We have, even in Washington, DC, when last time we were there, we didn't bother to rent a car because we could get everywhere on the trains.
Right.
I mean, the train came right into our hotel. And, as everybody says, we started way ahead of them building our transit system with MARTA. We were like 10 years ahead of them starting. And they're now so far beyond what we have accomplished.
No.
It's depressing.
I lived in DC when they were building their system. One of the coolest things that I think I've ever done. And I can't remember why I was invited to do this, but they had a tour where you would go into a station and then walk the tracks.
Oh,
To the
cool.
next station. It was like from the green line to the yellow line. So it's right around the Smithsonian. It was really cool.
I'll bet. Not something you would have wanted to do by yourself, I'm sure, but
No. No. They gave us a little hard hat, and that was just like really, really cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, Beltline Rail now is going to want to come back to the NPUs now. And they want everybody to re-up on our commitment to Beltline Rail. Just letting you know.
Well,
I am not driving that initiative. I have nothing to do with it other than explaining to them how the NPUs work and setting expectations that every chair will not be happy to see them.
well, if they've got something in the works that they want us to re-up for, then that makes sense.
Yeah.
But if it's just we still love you kind of thing, like you need to pay your annual dues. No, I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen what they intend to present. But that's good feedback, actually, that they need something new to talk about.
Right.
And not down in the weeds stuff.
Yeah. And if they've got a call to action for the NPU, and we want you to support this and send letters to your council people, and
right,
then that makes sense.
Yep.
Who's chairing that?
Matthew.
Oh, Rao?
Rao, yep.
Oh God, he is the most boring speaker.
Oh, he's awful. He's awful. And he's my Jack. He calls me. He's not nearly as annoying as Jack or arrogant as Jack, but he calls me all the time. I just want to run something by you. It's like, Matthew, I'm not on your board for a reason. I don't have time for this shit. But at least it lets me know what's going on.
Yeah. That's true. Well, if they're going to come to the NPU, I don't want Matthew speaking. It's got to be someone else.
Yeah.
He
Well, I
can't-
think they've got a pretty decent board now. People like George Cheedy is on their board.
Oh.
And a few other names that are, influential people in the city. And I think they were going to kind of divvy them up. So different people from the board would go to different NPUs. So, who knows who you'll end up with, but but I can make some suggestions.
That would be good. He spoke at APAB. Oh, Lord, that was horrible. That was
Yeah,
painful.
yeah, he did a CCI session too. That was just, it was a little painful. By the way, are you going to their Good Trouble Award thing at the Fox?
I am not.
Okay. I think Mark and I are going to go because I think Dory is finally at a stage where maybe we can leave her alone for a couple of hours.
Oh, okay.
Because we have not gone out together anywhere since right before Christmas.
Oh, really?
Because with her being on prednisone, she basically has to pee every hour or two.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
Because they just drink and drink and drink and drink. They're so thirsty when they're on prednisone. And she, even with us being home with her all the time, she's had quite a few accidents where she'll just pee in her sleep, and then you have to like change all the bedding and the couch covers or whatever. So
I have
but I
some
think,
puppy pads. Do you need those?
well, you can't guarantee where she's going to be, right?
Oh,
Because you know, unless we crated her, and I don't like to do that. So but she's doing much better, and we've tapered the prednisone. So this is her last week. She'll be off it completely. So by the end of the month, I think we probably, it's from 6 to 10. I know we're not going to stay until 10, but we'll go for a little while and have a couple of drinks and see some people. Be social.
Have you been to other events or
for CCI?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone to a couple of things. They did one at Dad's Garage Theater, like maybe their first year. Well, the first year I knew about them. That was just fun. And we went to something that they had at their own facility that was an evening thing. So this will be maybe the third thing we've gone to for them.
Okay.
So
yeah, I haven't done any evening things with them, but I just don't go out at night.
Yeah.
My cataracts have finally matured. So
oh yeah. Mine have started, but not in any way that I can tell. The doctor could see that it was coming, and he basically said, you'll know when it's time. So you're getting there, huh?
yeah, I saw my ophthalmologist today, and he had told me the last time I was there that he thought it was time, and I just wasn't ready to do anything, but he just sort of looked at me like, you really need to do this.
Yeah.
So
do you have to do both eyes?
No, actually, he just said one.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought usually it was, if you had it in one, you had it in both.
Well, and I asked him about that, and he said, yeah, sometimes there are people that go like months or years between the two eyes.
Huh, okay.
And he said, but sometimes people just want to have them done together, because if you don't have to wear glasses, then it's a benefit. So it's like, okay, I don't.
So you get that to look forward to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to figure out when.
Yeah.
I asked him about the recovery, and he said, well, we don't want you bending over for 2 weeks or lifting more than 10 to 15 pounds. And I thought, okay, this is going to be good.
Yeah. Huh.
Exactly how I'm going to do that.
I don't know. Mark's Aunt Pat just had both of her eyes done, and she's in her 80s. And she lives alone, and she was fine. I mean, she was fine within less than 24 hours.
Yeah, that's what he said, that he said usually after a couple of days, you're just fine.
Yeah. And she didn't talk about not being able to do anything. And I mean, she gets out on the riding lawnmower and mows, and, she has a farm, not they don't have livestock or anything, but, they have a lot of land, and she lives out in the country, and Yeah, so I don't know. Hopefully it won't be a real big deal. Let me know if you need somebody to drive you. Because I know you can't drive yourself home afterwards.
Yeah, he said I would need a ride. But well, the way they do it is they have a surgery one day and then you go back the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be 2 trips.
Right, yeah,
Okay.
we can do that.
I will. I have no idea when the date's going to be set. There are certain things that they have a process.
Okay.
You have to be medically cleared. So we have to
Oh,
do that.
geez.
I have to be scanned, and I need to pick the kind of lens I want to replace.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, really?
Wow.
This stuff gets so complicated.
Well, my next thing is my shoulder. This shoulder has been, it's been twingy and bothering me for, I don't know, 6-8 months. But I had, this shoulder was frozen years ago, 20 years ago.
Mm.
And I went through physical therapy and did the cortisone shots and finally had surgery, and you know, it's been fine. So I know what all this stuff is. So all these months I've been doing the exercises and it hasn't gotten any better. It's getting worse and worse. And now I can't like reach behind me to hook my bra or do anything.
Oh, no.
So it's pretty much frozen. So I'm going to see my doctor on Thursday and get a recommendation for an orthopedist, because I think I'm going to have this shoulder done. Fun.
Oh, gosh. What kind of surgery is that? Do they?
Well, basically, they do a nerve block, and then they put you under general anesthesia, and then they just force it to unfreeze it.
Oh.
And then they'll go in arthroscopically and clean up any bone spurs or anything like that. And then you do some physical therapy to keep it moving, because once they get it unfrozen, you
Right.
have to keep it moving while it, you know, the inflammation and everything goes away, and then you're done. So, I mean, when I had the other one done, it wasn't painful at all, because by the time the nerve block takes 24 hours to wear off.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time it wears off, you know, it's not really, nothing's hurting anymore.
Right.
So, yeah, so it sounds sort of barbaric, but it's not really a huge big deal. Mark had one of his shoulders done as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
What causes it, or is it?
In my case, it's generally because of overuse, and that tendon that runs, you know, from your hand all the way up over your elbow and up to your shoulder, it gets really irritated from things like, in my case, I was making a new garden and I used a big heavy tiller for hours, and that vibration just really irritated the tendons. And then, you know, I didn't take care of it. So it just, every time I would do things, knitting, sewing, crocheting, typing, you know, it just aggravated it and aggravated it and aggravated it. So it never really had a chance to heal. So that's what caused mine. I think with Mark's, it was more, you know, sort of started with carpal tunnel, and then, you know, from being on the computer all the time, and then it progressed from there. But, and he went the same route. He tried physical therapy, and, you know, it just wasn't getting better. And so finally they did surgery on him too. So basically the same thing. So.
Well,
Have you ever had a nerve block though?
No.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like all of a sudden that arm is just, it's just not there. You can't lift it. You can't do anything. I mean, you literally have to take, you know, and it's amazing. It's like the next morning it hadn't worn off yet, and I couldn't brush my teeth because I didn't know how to do it left-handed. It's just, it's such a bizarre feeling. There's just nothing there at all. It's as if you didn't even have an arm.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So anyway, isn't getting old fun?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see my cardiologist tomorrow, my vascular cardiologist on Friday.
How are your legs doing?
They are doing much better,
Oh, good.
much better. I
And
only
you
had
didn't have to do all that crazy wrapping.
God, no. I only had the ablation done on one leg. And I don't think I'm going to need to have it done on the other leg, and unless it just gets really bad during this, when the weather gets hot, because
Yeah.
it aggravates. But I was very pleasantly surprised at how it seemed to clear things up.
Huh. So I know John's been having some issues. He said, well, Nancy is worried about him because, you know, he's fallen many times and he's in that house by himself. And then she'd asked him how he was doing if he went to see his vascular doctor. And no, because he had fallen that morning and he was afraid to get in the car to drive, so he canceled the appointment. But he couldn't sleep in the bed anymore. The only place he could get comfortable to sleep was on the couch, because he could keep his left leg up on the couch and his right leg down on the floor. So I don't know what all's going on with him, but he does not sound like he's doing very well at all.
No, he doesn't. Well, he could have called someone to take him to the doctor.
I know. But you know what I wondered is, you know, if he maybe hit his, you know, had a bruise or something like that.
Yeah.
Because I remember once before when he fell, he had a big bruise on his face and he didn't want anybody to see him like that. It's like, yeah, right. I know,
But maybe your doctor should know that you fell.
Yes. And I don't know how much he's being, you know, I mean, it's not like I'm his kid. I can't, or sister or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's determined to be independent. And I get that. And I think that's important, you know, for him to be independent. But I worry about him driving. He's totaled 2 cars in the last 4 or 5 years. And, you know, we've been with him when he drove over the curb, and, you know. So,
Yeah.
you remember?
Yeah. You know, and I just realized that we're